Hello, my darlings. Madam Raven here with a wonderful story by the very talented Bo Bandy. This one's entitled, I Keep the Living Close, and the Dead Even Closer. People always seem to ask me about my unusual neighbors. For 364 days a year, living across the street from a cemetery is the very definition of peace. In that way, the dead are just about the perfect folks to live besides. Sure, it's not very easy to coax a date over to visit, but that just helps to eliminate the superstitious ladies. I don't need that squeamishness in my life, especially not here at the end of Shady Glen. Considering the deal I got on the place, you'd think my social life would reap the rewards. Like most people, I enjoy having friends over. I have all the room and privacy I need to throw lavish parties and intimate get-togethers. I can do whatever I want out here in the country, but many of my visitors are too weirded out by the notion of the dead next door. I get it, I really do, but it's not so bad. As I said earlier, they are the perfect neighbors for almost the entire year. They don't get packages or keep strange hours. The deceased occupants across the road don't even borrow my casserole dishes or block the driveway. They almost always keep to themselves. That brings me to this past weekend. Easter is the one day a year when all that peace and quiet goes to hell in a handbasket. I keep telling myself that it's a small price to pay for the overwhelming number of perks I have in living here. Based on what I've learned the past couple of years, the dead are so encouraged by the resurrection story in the New Testament that they insist on also rising from the dead for Easter. I don't even know how they keep track of the date, but every year it starts out the same way. Headstones and statuary topple over, and they try to dig themselves out of their resting place. Depending on how long they've been deceased, they either have no chance or a decent chance of wriggling free. From past experiences, I know which corpses to expect the most trouble from. Like a responsible neighbor, I dedicate myself to making sure they don't escape the neighborhood and hurt themselves or anyone else. That's the least I can do. That sort of makes me their unofficial caretaker, I guess. Of course, I can't share the details of my annual clandestine activities with the law. 1, they wouldn't believe me, and 2, I'd be accused of grave robbing. Take my word for it, having a shovel and digging tools in a cemetery would be pretty difficult to explain to the cops. They'd assume I was there to dig up the bodies like some kind of depraved ghoul. Meanwhile, the defiant cadavers I was trying to stop would just play dead and refuse to corroborate my story. They're stubborn like that at times. I can't save the restless dead from themselves if I'm in jail. I have to be careful. This Easter happened to fall on April Fool's Day. That seemed to ratchet up the graveyard shenanigans a few more notches. I guess some of them have a sense of humor after all. They rang my doorbell and left a severed hand in my mailbox. Another one of them hid in my car. Surprise! Takes on a whole other dimension when it's preceded with a dead guy popping out of your back seat. Even when you know animated corpses are walking about, that will still catch you off guard. I guarantee it. For the most part, they have a good attitude about the situation and don't resist too much when I herd them back to where they belong. They're just tired of lying around in silk-lined boxes waiting for a full-on resurrection. Who could blame them? In a way, Easter is like their very own spring break. And I'm the sheriff of Necropolis Town. Woo-hoo! I do my best to keep the rowdy ones in line and ensure that all of them make it back to their graves once the night is over. I'll be right here again next year for their annual coffin reprieves. I try to be as good of a neighbor to them as they are to me. My name is Steve, and I live at the end of Shady Glen Memorial Gardens. I keep the living close whenever possible, and the dead even closer. So close. This raven